lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to do something pretty different on my channel. I am going to do a spoiler-free review slash why I think you need to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm so obsessed with this movie, as a lot of you guys can tell because I changed my Twitter username to Miles Morales Stan account. It's not like I wouldn't have expected to have been obsessed with this movie. Didn't have high expectations to begin with. And when I say to begin with, I mean when Sony first announced that they were gonna do a Miles Morales animated movie. To be honest, my expectations were that it was gonna be like one of those DC animated movies that were just not really family friendly. They would be gritty, but then they would only show in cinemas for like a week or so. That was the expectation that I had for this movie, and then all of a sudden I watched the first teaser trailer and then I came to the realization that this movie was not going to be that. I had fears that this movie was not going to live up to being the rest of the Spider-Man films, because technically it looks more like a family movie than it is a comic book movie slash Spider-Man movie. So I was pretty skeptical about that, even though I was really excited. But I have to say, after seeing this movie twice, I went to 2 advanced screenings. My intention is to post this spoiler-free review before it is out. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, what I was saying was, I'm glad to say that this movie was everything I hoped for it to be, and so much more. There are so many reasons, a big myriad of reasons I think you should see this movie, but I'm only really gonna give you 5 because I don't really want to overhype it, but I really want everybody to see it because I want this movie to be successful in such an overcrowded movie month. I know that Aquaman is gonna be successful. I know that Mary Poppins Returns is probably going to be successful. Bumblebee might just be successful as well. It is a very overcrowded month of blockbusters, but I want this movie to be successful. I feel like Sony really put it in the wrong month for it to shine. It should get the recognition it deserves. I need to stop going on this tangent and I need to actually start the spoiler-free review. Here are 5 reasons why I think you should see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And another side note, you guys seriously must know that I am desperate for you guys to see this movie because I never usually do movie reviews on my channel. I do them if I'm ever bothered. But guys, I'm bothered this time. You know why? Because I want you to see it. The first of the 5 reasons I'm gonna give you is that after 6 Spider-Man movies, we're not including Venom. I'm personally referring to Sam Raimi's trilogy, the 2 Andrew Garfield films that I refused to watch, and Spider-Man Homecoming, which was directed by John Watts. Sony has finally made a movie with so many more other Spider characters on their catalog, and I am so happy about that. It's so funny because I've had my hands folded for years praying that Sony would give the rights back to Marvel, and I'm definitely very satisfied that they have come to some sort of sharing agreement when it comes to the character of Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, and some villains within the universe. But I don't know, as years went by, I wasn't too sure whether I had faith in Sony or not. I think it's because that I have so much faith in the MCU. I was kind of afraid and skeptical that Sony was going to mess up, and as much as I did like Venom as a movie, I don't think it was perfect at all. I hated the first half of the movie. The second half is where it got good. That's like a complete side note. I did enjoy the Sam Raimi trilogy. I used to love it so much because that was the Spider-Man I grew up with. Tobey Maguire was my Spider-Man. I like the first 2 movies. The 3rd movie was just meh. I think that's the reason why I had started to lose faith in Sony over time. So that's also another reason why I was pretty skeptical about this movie. But Sony has the rights to so many characters in the Spider-Verse. They have the rights to a lot of my favorite comic book characters, because the Spider-Verse is one of my favorite segments of the Marvel universe. It kind of saddened me in some sort of way that the rights were not home with Marvel. So going into this, I was pretty skeptical, but I was happy as the trailers started to release even more to finally see that Sony was utilizing a bunch of their characters in the Spider-Verse. It was about time. We've had the Spider-Verse, or at least we've had Spider-Man movies since the early 2000s, and we finally got an expansive look at the Spider-Verse, and that is what this movie was about. The reason why I think that it was awesome that it was animated was because that there weren't any limitations when it came to the cast of characters and the direction of the story. I don't know, technically that's a reason within a reason, but to pretty much sum up this first reason why why I think that you should give Into the Spider-Verse a chance is so that you can finally see Sony use a large catalog of their characters. Within this one movie alone, there are so many heroes, there are so many villains, and there are so many Spider-Verse Easter eggs. I won't say anything, but this movie is such a treat for any comic book fan, especially Spider-Verse fan. Another reason why I think that you should see Into the Spider-Verse is the representation. Guys, when you think about it, the two superhero movies that are coming out this month both have biracial protagonists. How amazing is that? I could be campaigning for Aquaman right now, but I already know Aquaman is going to be doing successfully. But Miles Morales is African American and Puerto Rican. I think that that's really cool because I personally think that the representation of the world we live in is awesome and it should be shown more in movies these days. This is one of those movies that kind of starts that, and the amazing thing is it's not thrown in there for tokenism whatsoever. It is definitely raw and real and plays a small part in the story, but it's still done pretty well. And that's definitely a reason why I think you should see the movie. And as somebody who is biracial myself, I would definitely recommend the movie for that aspect as well. That being said, we are transitioning into reason number 3 now. The third reason why I think that you should see Into the Spider-Verse is because this movie seems like a children's movie, but it does have some really dark undertones. Because let's be real here, what Spider-Man comic does not have dark undertones? I think the balance between the funny nature of the story to its severity is definitely something that feels like it was ripped straight out of a comic book. I mean, again, point within a point, this movie is just the perfect comic book movie because as much as you're trying to tell a story that is engaging, that is fun for your audience, you're also wanting to make your audience feel something. And boy, I felt a lot during this film. Personally, I cried 3 times during this film, 2 of them being pretty sad times and 1 of the times being just of nostalgia. I'm personally gonna try not to spoil anything, but there's a scene where there are a bunch of Spider-Man suits. That was a part I cried of nostalgia. I was tearing up. I'm like, oh my goodness. Wow. I'm watching the Spider-Man movie that I've always wanted to see, and my comic book Spider-Verse loving heart was throbbing in that moment. I will have to say that it was definitely a nostalgia attack. Again, point within a point, there are a lot of nostalgia attack moments for those who do love reading the Spider-Verse comics. So I guess you could say, to sum up the point that I just gave, it's pretty much a perfect comic book movie because it has such a great balance of everything and it's just, oh, it's so good. The fourth reason why I think that you should see Into the Spider-Verse is the extra elements that come with it. Obviously, it's artistic style. As you watch the movie, it literally feels like you are reading a comic book because there are text bubbles, and if you look really closely at the animation, it looks like things have been drawn. It literally feels like panels from a comic book have been displayed on a theater screen. I would not recommend you miss out watching this film in cinemas. You need to watch it in cinemas. It is just that good. It is that artistic. And also, to go along with this point, the soundtrack. A lot of you guys know I was obsessed with the Black Panther soundtrack. I don't want to compare both of them because, you know, they both are diverse movies and stuff. The reason why I'm mentioning the Black Panther soundtrack is because that was my favorite movie soundtrack of 2018. Until this one came. I love this soundtrack so much, and as I'm filming, it is not released. The second time I went into the theater, I had my Shazam app out the whole time, and I kept on Shazamming every single song that would come up. And I'm not lying when I'm saying this. Only around 20 to 30% of the songs had a match because the soundtrack is currently not out, and I am raging because I need the soundtrack right now. The soundtrack doesn't come out for the next 5 days. I don't know what to do with myself because I want to listen to the soundtrack so bad at the moment, but I can't, so I'm pretty bitter. But that being said, I don't know if I've ever anticipated a soundtrack so hard than I have right now. I mean, I did anticipate the Black Panther soundtrack, but I didn't hear it before I listened to it. And I'm not saying I was disappointed in it or anything like that, but I didn't have a pre-expectation of it. Whereas I've listened to the soundtrack because I've watched the movie twice now as an advanced screening, and I know I need it because it is amazing. This is definitely the music I like to listen to. I'm a big rap hip-hop fan, and this has a really cool rap hip-hop vibe to it. And every single song that is played throughout the movie suits the scene so well. It's seriously so funny to think about it because I never usually associate rap slash hip-hop with comic books, but it just gelled so well. It was so good. All the extra elements that make this movie up, that itself is a big reason why I would suggest you watch this movie. It is just artistic in every way possible. And finally, the last reason I'm gonna give you in this video as to why I think you need to see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is because it is genuinely a great Spider-Man movie with an amazing overall message. And that overall message is anyone can be Spider-Man. You know, there is a I just dropped my phone. Yeah, life-proof case. It's all good. There was a line that was said in one of the trailers. I don't know if it makes the movie or not. It really stuck with me. I think that it definitely sums this movie up altogether, and that is, what makes you different makes you Spider-Man. The overall amazing message about this movie is that anybody can wear the mask. And they're not really just saying this as an excuse to get a biracial kid from Brooklyn to wear the mask. No, that is the overall message of the movie, because they're trying to convey to anybody that anybody can be a hero if they choose to believe it. It takes a leap of faith. Oh man, I am starting to well up inside. This movie meant so much to me personally. As somebody who, of course, is obsessed with superheroes, this is the type of message I love to see in superhero films. And it's movies like this that remind me that I can be a hero in my own life, and I hope that it encourages so many more families, so many more individuals, so many more children to be heroes in their own life. Pretty much, this movie has an amazing message. And so personally, that's why I 100% recommend you watch this movie. I'm not just recommending this movie to comic book lovers, because as much as I've mentioned things that comic book lovers slash Spider-Man lovers slash Spider-Verse lovers love, this movie is for everyone. If you watch my videos but you happen not to like Marvel, I still recommend this movie to you. I still think that this movie is amazing because of its overall message, because again, it's very artistic, it is very creative, it is definitely my favorite animated film of all time now, and you know what? I am going to say it. You guys know how obsessed I am with Spider-Man Homecoming, but this is my favorite Spider-Man movie now. It is. It's not because this movie is diverse. It's not because this movie is edgy and different. No, I love the overall message of this film. Yes, of course, I still have my critiques compared to Spider-Man Homecoming. Like, for example, I don't feel like the villains were as fleshed out in here as I wanted them to be. So yeah, that's definitely a critique I have for this movie. And if you're wondering, I still do love Spider-Man Homecoming. It is still my favorite MCU movie at the moment. But when it comes to Spider-Man films, this one had the heart and soul of being a Spider-Man film. I mean, Spider-Man Homecoming did as well, but this one, this one's my favorite. I really don't want to overhype this movie, but I need people to watch this movie. I need this movie to be successful. So if you have no other reason of watching it, just do it for me, okay? Not just because I want sequels slash spin-offs to this movie. No, this movie deserves recognition. You can see that the movie makers really put their heart and soul into it, and so for that, I think that this movie definitely deserves to be recognized. Okay, I guess that's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. Yeah, it was definitely something different, but I needed to do this video. I really encourage you guys to go see Into the Spider-Verse. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go onto my computer right now and book tickets for another session. If you've just happened to find my channel now, hi, I'm Grace. Everyone calls me G-Swizz. I talk about books. That's why my channel is G-Swizzel Books. So if you want to stick around on my channel and hear me talk about books, I guess you can subscribe. And if you want to, you can follow me in my social medias. I'm at G-Swizzlebooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.